everyone, Simon here. Let's play some more Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. We are going to trial. Something samurai, somebody murdered, and Maya's kidnapped, I guess. The story is so convoluted, I can't even keep track of it anymore. March 22, 9:47 AM, District Court Defendant Lobby number 3. Adrian did it? That's what it looks like. Dude, no way! That woman couldn't do anything like that. In court today, there will be a mountain of evidence that will implicate you. A mountain of evidence? There's only like 2 pieces of evidence. I'm certain there is someone out there trying very hard to pin this whole thing on you. Please, Mr. Lawyer, dude, like I said yesterday, I'm refreshing like a spring breeze, alright? What does that mean? I can't let any sort of scandal ruin that. Oh, okay. I understand. Well, it's almost time. Mia, why are you still here? We must get a complete acquittal today. Why are you still here? We're not gonna get it today. Because I looked at the walkthrough and it's gonna be 2 days of trials. I know! But I can't focus on Maya's situation right now. Or Pearl's either. No matter what, I have to focus on winning this case by the end of the day. Indeed, well, let's get going. It's him! This is Wright! Good morning, this is it, Mr. Attorney, the day of the trial. Maya, she's unharmed, right? So these, like, radios, they don't have very long range. Whoever's calling can't be that far away. Because look, the range is just the whatever that tiny-ass antenna is able to transmit to. So it's not that far. Well, when I checked on her earlier this morning, she seemed a bit, how should we say, tired. Don't worry, people don't die that easily. Besides, what you really should be concentrating on is winning today's trial. For my sake as well as yours, you must win today's trial. Which is why I sent you a little present this morning. Present? What in the world would you want to give to me? You'll figure it out once the trial starts, and even if you don't like my gift, I expect you to graciously accept it and win the day's contest if you please. Wait! The kidnapper sent me a present. Mr. Lawyer dude, who was that? No one. It has nothing to do with you, so forget you heard anything. Dude, did your nose just get longer? March 22, 10 AM, District Court, Courtroom number 3. Court is now in session for the trial of Matt Engarde. Are the prosecution and defense ready? The defense is ready, Your Honor. I say, Mr. Wright, what happened to Ms. Von Karma? I don't know, Your Honor. Why are you getting mad at me? Your Honor! Please be quiet, bailiff. Court is in session. If you must tell me something, please keep it brief. Now then, what is it? Prosecutor Von Karma has... This morning, Ms. Von Karma was shot by an unknown gunman. Nani? Shot? Somehow, I think this is the present that man was talking about. Oh, it's gonna be Edgeworth. It's gonna be worse now. His present? Ms. Von Karma is one of the top prosecutors in the country at the moment. If she were to disappear, it would be to your advantage. Not really. This is totally insane! Ms. Von Karma, is she alright? I don't have that answer. She's alive and in stable condition. That's good. Phew. I thought he'd show up. Why is he in the witness stand? Your Honor! Due to the circumstances, Miss Franziska Von Karma cannot appear in court today. I, Miles Edgeworth, will be taking her place. The prosecution is ready, naturally. Why are you on the witness stand? Why are you not in the prosecution? There you are, there you go. Miss Von Karma was shot in her right shoulder and is currently undergoing surgery. Luckily, I have looked this case over and am familiar with the details. The prosecution seeks to prove the guilt of Mr. Matt Engarde. The court acknowledges the prosecution. Right. I finally found the answer I was struggling for on my long journey this past year. He went on a long journey to discover himself. By the time this case comes to an end, you too will know the answer. Now then, the prosecution would like to call its first witness. Please bring Detective Gumshoe to the witness stand. Witness, your name and occupation. My name's Dick Gumshoe, sir. I'm a detective down at the precinct for now. For now? After this trial's over, I'm supposed to turn in my badge, sir. Detective Gumshoe. The prosecution has no need for a depressed witness. Lift your head up and face forward like a proud officer, Detective Gumshoe. Yes, sir. Now let's have your testimony. Did he just tell him to man up? Did he just tell his depression to man up? If we were to explore the various facets of this case, we must start with that. Get ready, Phoenix. This is going to be one very rough fight. Yeah, it would have to be with Edgeworth as my opponent. The answer he was struggling for. Interesting. Show me this answer you finally found, Edgeworth. Bare facts of the case. This murder happened after the Hero of Heroes award ceremony, sir. The victim, Juan Corrida, was found dead in his hotel room. After looking into the cause of death, we believe he was definitely murdered, sir. That knife would not kill him, come on. At first we thought there was something suspicious about the empty guitar case. However, we later found out that the guitar case had nothing to do with the murder. Why? What? That's the whole testimony? After the award ceremony ended, the victim was alone in his room. Yes, sir. Both the victim and the defendant went alone to their rooms, sir. I see. Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination. Bare facts of the case. This murder happened after the Hero of Heroes award ceremony, sir. Would you please give us a brief timeline of what happened after the ceremony? Okay, pal, the ceremony started at 6 PM. It ended around 8 PM, and then there was a short break. A special post-ceremony show was supposed to start in the lobby 30 minutes later. And that's when the victim's body was found, correct? Which is to say, the murder occurred during that 30-minute break period. Please continue with the testimony, Detective. The victim, Juan Corrida, was found dead in his hotel room. The person who discovered the victim's body was Adrian Andrews, correct? Yeah. Who is this Adrian Andrews you're talking about? She is the defendant Matt Engarde's manager. She's a really pretty lady, sir. What? So she's a pretty lady. I wonder if she will grace us with her presence. That's not how courts work. When the post-ceremony show was about to start, she went to get Mr. Engarde. After visiting his room, she next went to the victim's room to get him for the show, sir. I see. And that's when she found the victim's body. After looking into the cause of death, we believe he was definitely murdered, sir. The cause of death? Wasn't that because Mr. Corrida was stabbed in the chest? Only a careless amateur would believe something so brainless as that, pal. Yeah, I thought so. I knew that. I knew that, come on. Take a good hard look at the crime photo. Now, a real pro's attention would be drawn here to this bandana. Bandana. Oh, banana. What? No, his bandana, sir. That's the thing wrapped tightly around his neck, sir. Ah, yes, I see. His banana-scented bandana. Then what about the knife? It seems to have been stuck in the victim's chest on purpose after his death. You can't kill someone with a knife like that. He was strangled? We have a crafty murderer on our hands here. Autopsy report added to the court record. Time of death 8:15 PM. Cause strangled with a scarf, then stabbed with a knife. Elaborate. At first we thought there was something suspicious about the empty guitar case. And why did you think that? Because it was empty, pal. The jamming ninja doesn't go anywhere without his bright red guitar. And we couldn't find it anywhere at the scene of the crime. Oh, then how about this theory? A fan really wanted the guitar and did the crime to get it. How's that? We thought of that too, but... The only fingerprints on the guitar case were the victims. So they wore a glove. Only the victims, huh? I see. So much for my theory then. Guitar case updated in the court record. Empty. There's some water, but only on the top of the lid bears Corrida's fingerprints. However, we later found out that the guitar case had nothing to do with the murder. What convinced you it had nothing to do with the case? The guitar wasn't at the Gatewater Hotel that night. Well then, where was it? The bright red guitar was eventually found at the TV studio. The victim, Juan Corrida, had apparently only taken the case with him, sir. That is unlikely. Guitars are actually kinda heavy, and if you lift the case without the guitar, you would notice. So you mean he forgot to put the guitar inside the case? Yes, sir. Even when he was on stage for the ceremony, he didn't have his guitar. So the guitar case was empty even before he got to the hotel. Yeah, that's right. So it really had nothing to do with the case after all. I believe that is enough. First, the victim was choked to death with his bandana. Then after the victim was dead, the killer deliberately stabbed him with a knife. Which brings me to my next point. Why then did the police arrest Matt Engarde? Because there was reason enough to suspect him. Here it comes. Looks like Edgeworth's back in full swing. Very well, Detective Gumshoe, please testify about this matter. Yes, sir. Okay. Why arrest Engarde? Matt Engarde and Juan Corrida were huge rivals with each other. They each thought the other guy was in his way. That's motive enough in my book. It's just a show, man. As for evidence, there's the Jammin' Ninja's button. It was ripped off of the ninja's costume and was found in Mr. Engarde's hakama. The defendant's fingerprints were also all over the knife. The defendant bought the knife for the crime, which makes... Wait, the defendant bought the knife for the crime, which makes this a premeditated murder. No, he didn't. The knife was from the dinner. So the defendant's fingerprints were found on the knife used in the stabbing. It was sort of sticky on the handle, so the fingerprints came out pretty clearly, sir. Knife added to the court record bears the victim's blood and Engarde's fingerprints. In the grip, Gatewater is engraved. And there's this button that was found in the defendant's clothes, was it? And this button also... Is this button also covered in blood? Yes, and we know that the blood on it is the victim's blood, sir. How do you know? Nani? Jammin' Ninja's button had added to the court record. Okay, so it's not tomato juice. Ripped from his costume, covered in Corrida's blood, found in Engarde's hakama. All of this points very clearly to the defendant, doesn't it? Yes, it most certainly does, Your Honor. Ready to give in yet, right? No. He was framed. I'll find the hole in your argument somehow. You can press as hard as you like, just hurry up with your usual pointless questions. Grr. Why arrest Engarde? Engarde and Juan Corrida were huge rivals with each other. But in terms of popularity, Mr. Engarde won, did he not? Yeah. But you know what's ironic, pal? Juan Corrida was always one step behind Mr. Engarde in everything. This year it seemed like he'd finally caught up, ready for the big final showdown. But Mr. Corrida lost the Grand Prix in the end. That is too bad, he must have been pretty downhearted after losing. They each thought the other guy was in his way. That's motive enough in my book. Wait just 1 second here. Mr. Engarde was beating Mr. Corrida in the popularity polls. Well, yeah, I guess, but... Which means that in the defendant's eyes, the victim was not a rival at all. Which means he had no motive to kill at all. Yes, I quite agree. Well, detective? It's not, well... I guess if you put it that way, then yeah, the defendant would have had no motive. Detective, I'm beginning to see why you were fired. No, not you too, Mr. Edgeworth. That's... I look forward to your pension negotiations. No! Now, detective, let's continue with the testimony. No, not my poor pension too. Detective, if you value your money, I suggest you proceed. Yes, sir, we can talk about my pension later, sir. What about what I was saying? As for evidence, there is the Jammin' Ninja's button. Do you have any proof that the button belonged to the victim? Huh? What do you mean, pal? Oh, let me put it this way. I'm asking you if you have any evidence to back up your claim that this button was ripped off of the Jammin' Ninja's costume. Huh? But can't you tell by just looking at it? No. I mean, there could be multiple buttons. He might have multiple outfits. And the victim's blood is on it. Anyone could have smeared that blood on there afterwards. Mr. Edgeworth, help me, sir. Alright, I knew it had to be this piece of evidence. Now to reel this one in. Thread. Huh? The button was attached to the costume by thread, obviously. And that thread snapped when the button was torn off. If you match up the ends of the thread on the costume with the thread on the button, it's a perfect match. Yeah, that's it. They're a perfect match, pal. Ugh. That's Edgeworth for you, never misses a beat. It was ripped off of the ninja costume and was found in Mr. Engarde's Hakama. When was this button found? Pretty soon after the body was found, we rounded up everyone who knew Mr. Corrida. And then we did a search on them all. That's when we found the button. So it was almost immediately after the murder. The police didn't have the free time to lollygag and play tricks, unlike some people. Hey, what's he trying to say about me here? The defendant's fingerprints were also all over the knife. How were the fingerprints arranged on the knife? Huh? What do you mean, pal? By examining the fingerprints, you can determine how the defendant held the knife. Oh, that's smart. Basically, is it like stabbing someone, or is it like cutting a steak? For example, did he hold it normally or overhand? Oh, is that what you meant? Well, we didn't actually think of that. I can't believe the bumbling of this department. Hopeless! Were you paying attention to the testimony, right? The defendant's fingerprints were all over the knife. There is no way to determine how the knife was held at the moment of the murder. So is the defendant the owner of this knife then? The defendant bought the knife for the crime, which makes this a premeditated murder. There is no way this was a premeditated murder, even if he bought the knife. Sorry, pal, this isn't some pocket knife. It doesn't fold, so it's not great for walking around with either. Ugh, well, this is not good. If the prosecution can prove it was a premeditated murder, we're done for. Phoenix, Yes, there's something very interesting about what the detective said just now. Think carefully before it's too late. A button covered in the victim's blood, and a knife with with Engarde's fingerprints. Be grateful. If the judge were more rash, he would have already pounded his gavel in closing. We're still in a world of trouble. Well, before any battle, you must find your enemy's weakness. So let's find the weakness in this testimony, no matter how small it may be, okay, Phoenix? Okay, look. What he said about the knife, there's a number of things that are suspicious. The button could have been planted, first of all. The knife, it would not have supported a premeditated murder because the knife is not good for carrying around. Like he said, it's not a folding knife or anything. So you can't hide it. Why would you like have a weapon that you can't hide? But I don't actually know what the game wants me to present. Do I seriously just present the knife when he says the knife? That seems so stupid. This is so stupid. I'm gonna just present the knife here. What? This is correct. You just present the knife when he talks about the knife. That's not. There's no. I mean, there is a logic there, which it's not. The knife is not actually good for a murder because it's not good for a premeditated murder because it's not good for hiding. But in terms of like game mechanics, we didn't really discover anything. Wait a second. What? So the basis of your argument that this was a premeditated murder is simply that my client bought a knife beforehand. That's right, pal. The defendant did not buy this knife. That's so stupid. Huh? Take a good look at the handle of this knife and you'll see what I'm talking about. Huh? It has a gatewater seal set into the handle. Gatewater? I think I've heard that name somewhere before. That's the name of the hotel, the Gatewater Hotel. Uh-oh. The murder knife was actually property of the hotel, which means this murder was not premeditated. Yes, that is very true. This is a very big... What is it, Mr. Edgeworth? I'm sorry, but the defense is simply too careless. Nani? I think whether the crime was premeditated or not has already been determined. No. How so? I admit this knife is hotel property. There is no one currently on the police force that is dumb enough not to realize this. But I didn't... Oh. The question is... where did this knife come from? Why is... That's obvious. It came from the victim, Mr. Corrida's room. No, it came from the other room. God, this is so stupid. They're taking the most trivial things and just dragging it out. Sorry, Your Honor, but that is incorrect! The victim ate a last meal before he was murdered. With that being the case, I would like to draw the court's attention to what is on top of the table, which there's no evidence for, by the way. There is a knife and a fork on the table. There's no picture of this. This is not in the court. Then, where in the world did this knife come from? If it pleases the court, I would like for us to recall the room of the defendant, Mr. Engarde. There's no photos. He's just talking about things that the judge has never seen before. Especially what was on top of his table. There is something missing. Perhaps it is a single knife. We investigated the leftover dishes for fingerprints, and while we were investigating, we came to the conclusion that Mr. Matt Engarde's knife was missing. Ugh. Mr. Engarde had gone to the victim's room with the knife he had used during dinner. Why would he carry a knife on a visit? To kill, of course. And with that, I believe the prosecution has proven this was a premeditated murder. I mean, it's pretty tenuous. It's pretty flimsy. Amazing, Mr. Edgeworth. Absolutely brilliant. A brilliantly clear deduction. It seems like Edgeworth had this planned from the very beginning. This must be one of those traps, and I just walked headlong into it. I mean, the game walked headlong into it. I didn't agree with it. A murder weapon with fingerprints and a button from the victim's costume. But you see what I mean? The game, like, the storyteller has a dramatic story that they want to tell. And the player is just like pressing trivial buttons to allow the storyteller to tell this dramatic story. You see what I mean when I say the player has no agency? Like, I'm not the one driving the story. There is quite a sizable amount of evidence here. I can safely say that any further deliberation is a waste of your honor's time. Although, I wouldn't mind if the defense were to present evidence not yet shown to the court. Evidence not yet shown? He means evidence that the court hasn't seen yet. In other words, new evidence. What does the defense have to say about this, Mr. Wright? Well... Phoenix! The judge is favoring the prosecution right now. If we answer with something wrong here, that gavel of his will be ringing out to the sound of our defeat. Let me save.